Welcome to the channel. In this video we are going to do something which I very rarely ever do, and that is a mod review. And the reason why I've decided to make this video is that I came across this mod quite recently, because it was only released on the 30th of September 2022. I think it'd be of great interest to anyone who wants to have a themed realistic mode Cosmonaut Challenge start. Although what I will say is it probably covers a period from 1930s onward, and this mod is called the Military Construction of the Ministry of Defense of the USSR Realistic Mode Cosmonaut Mode Challenge by Salty. As I said, it was released on the 30th of September. It consists of 3 parts, and I would strongly recommend that you do subscribe to all 3 parts. Otherwise, what you might find is some inconsistencies. If you look at the description of the mod itself, it says that it provides all the buildings to build a Labour Battalion construction crew. There is a lot of buildings in this mod. Some are a little bit confusing, but what I'm going to try and do is go through as many as I've found. And the reason I say is found is because the mod itself doesn't provide a comprehensive list of what's all available. And the only way I've actually been able to identify them is if you subscribe to this mod, if you see this symbol here in red, that's land buildings. The green is the free buildings. Now, you only ever get one of every free building, which is acceptable. And then what you've got on here is the blue symbol, which is for aircraft and helicopters, although most of it is orientated around helicopters. Now, the convention of this layout is that all the buildings above the road are buildings that you purchase. Everything below the road is the free version. So not every building has a free version, but quite a lot of them are. And now I'm going to try and go through this list. Apologies if I miss any out, because I say there are a lot of buildings. In fact, I'll just kind of put it out there. All this is built with buildings from this mod, and down here I've actually put together a labour camp. But what we're going to start on first is what you call the more specialist construction buildings. One of the problems I've had is that the building descriptions are in Cyrillic, and my knowledge of Cyrillic is pretty close to 0, to be honest. So what I've done is I've renamed some of these, and these are the road depots, and I think it comes in 2 versions. It's road depots. Where are you? Road vehicle depot here. One's 16. This is the 16, and then you get a 31 and the free one below, which is 16 here. Alongside it, this is the one where you buy the helicopters. Now moving on to this section here, these are cargo stations, which, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure what these actually do. When we get down into the Labour Battalion, I'll give you a demonstration of what I think they do. So what you've got is a couple of these, and clarify it, one's sewage and one's water. What it does have, sorry, is the factory connection. So I'm assuming that what you would do is connect this. This is actually a helicopter pickup point. That's it, yeah. So it is a cargo station in its own. I think when some mods are listed, it can cause a bit of confusion. And then moving across here, I've put this in. What I should have done is put a rail track in, just to show you. This is a rail construction office, and you can see it's got slots for 2 track build layers, and it's got pretty reasonable storage for everything else. And now we get into the actual construction offices themselves. I think this one's got, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20 slots. And of course you get the free version below. You've got a very small one here with 4 slots, and the free version below. And I mean, this one's quite interesting because this is actually a helicopter construction office. And I think one thing it's worth noting is if we come into construction offices, if I can find them down here, if I turn off the auto purchase, what you'll see is that they're actually quite relatively cheap to buy, because effectively what you've got is a landing pad with with a few tents on it. And then here you've actually got a smaller helicopter construction office if you want to just put in a small one here. And moving across now, we get to some distribution offices. What you get is there's a full one similar to with the actual game, and you get a free 4-slot one, and then you get this quite big one, which I quite like. Actually, one thing I do like with this game is the detail. Like, you get the entrances here, and I think this is a 20 slot construction office. So now we're getting into storage, and there's a lot of it, of different variation options. And what you get here is this one is quite interesting. In fact, one of the features of this storage is that everything is stored in one building, which seems okay, but if you put a small one on here, you're not going to store very much in these. And what this seems to do is come in two versions. That's why I've joined it together with there. You seem to have an open version and a closed version as well, and they both store 184 tons, and you get a free version of each one. The only thing I will say is that I'm not sure whether the building is meant to be covered in mesh or whether it's actually got a solid roof, but I'm not going to pick holes. Then what you've got next, this is the only gravel pickup storage as far as I know. I can't remember if it's actually got a conveyor. I don't think it has, no. But at least it's got 3 pickup points, which is a bit more than what's in the normal game. The next one is, again, it's a bigger version. This is 1200 storage. And again, you can store everything right all the way down to fuel and bitumen on there. Because if you actually look very carefully, I think if you look in carefully, you can actually see the fuel tanks in the corner. This is almost a unique building. This is 1600 tons. And again, it seems to store everything, but it's actually looks a bit like an Anson shelter with the circular roof above it. The next one across is actually a proper fuel store, and I think, again, I'm quite surprised with this. This has got quite a lot of parking slots, and it's got the bladder type fuel reserves, and I think the detail is really great. And what you get is one free version, so if you want to start off and get almost a really powerful fuel supply, it's there. The next one is 1,516 tons. Again, it's got the same format as before, and again, what you've got it pulled up in here is some line of tankers to represent the refueling. The next one is 5,601, and this one doesn't include fuel, but it does include all your building materials and what you'd store for supply. You can also store cement and aluminium oxide in here. So this one's a bit more basic, but you do get a free version of it. And then moving across, we got this free fuel store here, but I've got a feeling that this hasn't been set up properly, because I can't see the benefit of having a fuel store that stores 0.10 tons of fuel. Also, it doesn't have a way to set the auto purchase. I know for realistic mode that's not important, but you should still expect to see this even in realistic mode. Now the next one is a gas station. This is pretty familiar, but again, it looks pretty cool actually. It's got a nice the fuel Bowsers in there, and that doesn't have a free version. I do wonder whether this is meant to be the free version of this, but this one's not actually been set up properly, because they look exactly the same. It's just that this one is 0.10 tons. Now this, I'm assuming, is a large gas station, but again, it's got the same problem as this, so possibly there's just a configuration version there and it'll get fixed. But hopefully, if it's working, what you'll be able to have as a store. Again, the auto purchase is missing from it as well. So I'm not going to knock it. It's because, I mean, there's a phenomenal amount of work being put in by Salty, and I take my hat off to them. There's no way, it's beyond my capabilities. And so, yeah, maybe there's a few fixes, but if you actually look at the mod description, he says if you find anything wrong, give him the feedback and he'd take a look at it. Now, the next line, I'm going to start on the left-hand side again. What you get is a gravel pickup. In fact, I think I've bodged it a bit here. So what you get is a free gravel mining area there, and what you've got is actually so you get a free quarry position. You also get a free log yard, and again, which has got 3 positions for your trucks. And then if we move across to here, what this section here is factories. And we'll start here. We've got, this is a stone crusher. And what you can see is it imports gravel and it crushes it out. I think this one does have a conveyor attachment to it. Although again, I think there's a little bit of a problem here, because this one's only got an output. This one's got an input and an output. Although this is the free one, so And if we come down to here, what on earth is this? This is the brewery, a very, very small brewery. Now, the reason it's in a truck is, and you'll see this once we get down to the actual camp, I think some of the fringing is due to the camouflage on it. That a lot of the buildings are actually trucks to represent that you've got a construction battalion that turns up with a commissary and all that. And again, you get it kind of mirrored here. This is a sawmill, and then you can see you've actually got the sawmill running across the top there. Again, there's a purchasable version and a free version. This one, I think it's got 3 pickup positions. I don't see the pickup positions on this one, but let me just see if I can get in and find the factory. It should be right at the end here. It's saying that one's saying it's got 3 positions. We come down to the, and it's also saying that there's 3 positions in the free version. So maybe maybe it's just the way I've placed it. And the next one is a meat factory, which is a butcher's yard. You've actually got the pigs outside. And again, you get 3 version and you can buy one. Here we've got a food factory, and you can see it's like a commissar van with a little bit of camouflage on the top there. And I think there's a difference. This shows a difference as well. If I actually pick up the water substation, you can see the meat tent actually has water where this one doesn't. So you're going to have to deliver water to here because it's actually a truck. Now, moving on to our favorite things, which is the asphalt plant and the concrete plant. The asphalt plant it can import fuel and say gravel, bitumen, and this asphalt plant actually uses fuel because it's actually it doesn't need, I don't think it, oh, it does need power, but it's actually like a truck with a crusher on it like this. Now, the reason I've put the roads in is that these all have one-way systems. So I've put that in to emphasize it. But that also applies to the concrete production here as well. Fantastic detail. Got a little crusher truck there, which goes into there and then goes up over the top. So that is all the factories. Now we're going to get down into the battalion town. There is an absolute pile of buildings here. And as I said, I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just going to let the game run just so that we can get things going. What I'm going to do is start down here, because what we've actually got here, and before any of you guys post a comment, I'm aware that a water pickup here and a sewage disposal unit there is probably not the best location. In fact, the pollution's probably already spreading. But yeah, the water quality is dropping already, so maybe there is a bit of pollution in this area, because I've been running this test for a little while. As far as I can tell, the mod doesn't include a well. It's got a pickup point, but there's plenty of other mods around if you want a well. And so what you've got is this pickup point and a straight disposal point there, which makes it quite easy to actually get these in position. And I think just to show you, if we go to sewage discharge, okay, let's just turn this off. And what you'll see is, I can get it there. It only takes a few boards and a little bit of steel to build it. So it's quite a nice, easy thing to build from the get-go. If we run through the water system, what we got up here is a water treatment plant. Now, one thing you need to be aware of is there's absolutely no pipework connections or anything in this mod. Everything is done with trucks, which is understandable, because if you look in here, you've got a truck providing the water treatment. There are a couple of water bladders there. What I've been doing so far is just running in very basic mode, because I think there's possibly a few issues with the water treatment. And what I've got is 2 buildings here, and I'll be completely honest, I'm not too sure what this is. I'm assuming this is meant to be a water tank, but if I come over here, I can't allocate it. I can allocate this. If I send this truck up, tell it to pick up some water from, actually, oops, not why I'm doing that. We tell it to pick up water from here. Wait until loaded. and come into here and tell it to wait until unloaded. We'll just let that run very quickly. I just gonna track him. Where is he? Just put him up there so I can track him. And while he's running around, I'll just show you the power setup. Over here, the power comes from generators run by fuel. And there's two versions of the generators. You've got one that produces 39 megawatts, and then you've got a smaller version, which I've put over here somewhere. I can find it. Here it is here, which produces 30 megawatts of fuel. Right, the truck is coming back now. If you watch the truck, he's got 6.9 tons of water in here, and the water just disappears. There's no you get a little tiny amount in here, which I think what it's intended to do is fill this flask up so that you can fill the flask up, but that's it. There's no additional storage. But when I've tried to get trucks into here, what I found is that the distribution office here goes a bit ballistic, so I don't think that works. I think this is probably the better solution. But to show you going the opposite way though, this is the sewage side, and what I've done is I put a truck here and said, right, what I want you to do is sit here until you're full. And then what happens is, if you watch the truck come in here, I'll just pick this truck up on this side and this on this side. What you'll see is it comes in here, and you watch, this one will unload, and he will unload directly into this truck. And I think what happened, and what I have noticed, is that this doesn't seem to have the normal, sorry, let me just click on a random building somewhere. This here, which fills up. So in some ways there might be a potential cheat here, in the fact that if you can get the waste trucks to come here and they just dump it into here, whether that will pollute the water around here or not. And I think that is what's intended to be here. So for example, if you wanted to, although I'm not too sure why you would do it, but if you were in a situation where you wanted to, say, move water up to here, from here to here, what you would do is possibly have one truck coming in here, then a truck would fill up with a bladder and then go off somewhere else. But it doesn't really work with respect to the distribution office. In fact, and the way I'm actually bringing in water in the moment, so I've got two trucks here. Now, another thing I want to just quickly demonstrate, because I just want to do, if I put, no, we want the modded water substation. If we put in a substation, we use the free one. What this does is it distributes across the map, and we just drop that in there like that. And what should happen now, because we won't see it, we'll go in here and he will pick up quite a lot more, transporting water, and he's going to the cinema. Now, what I've found is that build this and build this, and then start it, and all these are empty. What happens is all your water bowsers here go a bit ballistic. So what you want to do is, you need to prime the system to allow the water distribution network to get going. And what I actually did when I was testing this is I actually filled a truck up here with good water, and then I parked him on here. And then it looks like you've got a water bowser here dispensing water. And what that does is it fills up all these flasks here. And once the flasks are full, these trucks seem to be quite capable of doing things. The only problem with this is that this has got no connection to there. Or maybe there's a secret. If any of you guys know the secret to it, feel free to chuck it in the comments. Now, let's just have a look at the detail of this camp. Now, the camp itself, it comes with about 2-3 buildings, come to residential, and they're tents actually, not buildings. What am I calling them? Tents. And you've got one with 33 workers in it and one with 100 workers. These are the tents with 33 workers in. And then over here you've got the 100 pence as well here. So you've got this whole section here. Now scattered around here are all the buildings that you would expect to put down. And I'll try and work around them in no particular order. In fact, we'll just do it. Here we've got the sports ground. It doesn't show up particularly that well, but it's there. Next one is City Hall. So if you want an administrative in your Labour battalion, you can put one of those in. You've got next one is the pub. I've changed them to English so that I could actually identify them, because one thing is they do look very similar, although the detail was absolutely fantastic. And then this is the fire station with a watchtower on it. But it's only got the one fire truck in. This is the prison. So you come with a nice prison. I actually quite like this prison. I'd be tempted to use this prison in my current realistics playthrough. It looks like a prison. It's probably the way through it, with a couple of Nissan huts there with the barbed wire. It's a serious prison. Then what we got here, we even got a church. I'll tell you a little bit about that in a little while. This is the radio station. Again, it's a communications truck with some masts on it. I think this is the school. You can see the desks are outside, so it's very much outdoor living. From the perspective of supplies, you've got separate shops. There's no central commissary, so you got to supply the food and meat separately, and the clothes and electronics. This is the university. You can see it's very similar to the school, and this is the reason why I've actually labelled them. Over here we've got the kindergarten. That's the food shop. Sorry, we've already looked at that. This is I've got to label this. Oh, there's an ambulance there, so it's got to be the hospital. And the other thing while we're here, I don't know if you guys can see it. I've probably put the wrong cable there. This little pole, I don't know if you can actually see it, is the substation. And that probably leads me on to something that I'm not exactly sure why it's actually included in the game, but we've got a whole load of power substations. This is that one, but we've got some like this. And the only thing I'm assuming is that if you want to put multiple substations, and this is there, and then you've got one that's even bigger. I mean, it could work if you wanted to distribute power all around. Say you wanted to put power on all sides of a large camp, but you'd still need to put the substation. But of course, zoom right in. Yeah, I think I clicked the one next to it by accident. The free one, you get a single pole, but I assume there is a reason for that actual distributed system. It may serve a purpose for someone. Now on the top section here we've got the secret police. They've only got one vehicle and they've got their camouflage over the top. I think maybe that distortion on the storage building is the fact that it's a camouflaged store. That's pretty cool. Next to it we've got the police station, which looks with its compound here. And then next to it we got the courthouse, which is very much al fresco again as well. Not that we're going to get much crime. Now there is one other interesting building here. I think it's this one. Yeah, this is the orphanage. And to me this looks more like a prison than the actual prison. Again, you've got that fringing with the camouflage over the top of it, which is pretty great. We got, what is this? Oh, this is the generator, another generator. What have I got? Oh, that's the generator out there. I think that covers all the buildings. Apologies if I've missed any, because like I said, there's just so many. Every time I seem to look in my mod list and I flip through, oh, there's one thing I have forgotten, and I'm sure some of you will ask. We just stop there. It's platform and stations. What we got here is some platforms. Let's just put them over here. I think this one is 100 passengers, and it's got a kind of central thing here. Then we got a really small one, which is 40 passengers. I think that. And then what we've got alongside it is this thing, and I actually quite like this, but I don't. If I can get it the right way round. Actually, I think this actually looks really great as a camp entrance. I know it's got bus stops in it, but I'd be tempted just to put this down as the camp entrance itself. Anyway, back to here. And the other thing also, we've got a landing pad for the commander's helicopter, which is similar to what we had before. And I think you get the equivalent in free as well for this one, for the 100, for this one says 30. Is this different? No, this is the same. It's that one 30 and 40. So you do get a free version on that. As I said, every time I look in here, I find another grouping that's got something attached to it. Oh yeah, monuments. What the monuments is, if I click on here and come through here, see there's a whole list of them. And they're quite powerful because they actually give a 50% boost to loyalty for 50 meters. I'm aware that you guys can't see it. I can barely read it as well. And what these actually are is, I put one in, and then I have to zoom right in close, let it build. These are actually inspirational posters that you can scatter around your thing. There's another one just there. So actually, it probably shows up a little bit better now. Yeah, so there's these inspirational posters as well. I think we've covered the mines. These are the quarries. One thing that there is that doesn't come with this is there's no heating plant. But I have tested this through the winter. The tents and all the buildings actually have their own heating, but they do put out a little bit of a pollution. That also reminds me that there is a pollution monitor in here somewhere. The little pollution monitoring station which you can put down. And the list goes on and on. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. Let's just build that there. And you say what you get is a tent and a truck and a little antenna there. I'd say I'm really blown away by the detail. I think I take my hat off to Salty for the sheer amount of time it must have been taken to put this mod together. It's quite interesting that he's also looking to add to it more going forward as well. I want to check this to see if it's still got water in it. I must admit the actual water consumption is quite low. You can see here you're barely using anything at all, which means you're getting very little in the way of sewage. So not having pipes isn't particularly that big a problem. I think I better stop, guys. It's going to be another hour by the time I finish talking about this mod. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it interesting. Any comments, feedback, feel free to chuck it in the comments. But until next time, whatever you do, enjoy your gaming.